Hey, so I get a lot of my friends that ask me tips for Japan, especially because in Australia there are always these amazing deals with Japan. So a lot of them take up these deals and then come to Japan and often have a lot of questions because for me, I'm living in Japan. So living here means that, I'm the expected guru of this country, even though I've only been here for like 10 months. But still, it does, having lived here, it's taught me a few things, especially if you are a tourist here. So I'm going to offer 5 tips, maybe six. 6 tips for traveling here in Japan. So let's get started. Number one, JR Pass. The JR Pass is part of the Japan Rail Network System, which is a network system which is ubiquitous across Japan. It is the main network. It isn't every network, but it is a main network across Japan. It finds itself extremely useful within places such as Tokyo, which it's a network that is everywhere across the capital city. Maybe a little less in other countries, but it is in other cities. But at the same time, it is like the main network across all the main cities across Japan, aka the main tourist cities, the main draw cards for this country if you are a tourist. How it works is that after you get outside of the airport, whether it's Narita Airport, Haneda, Kansai, Itami Airport, whichever airport you come out of, you will go to the tourist office, and essentially there will be like a JR pass sign there, and basically you activate your JR pass, which is valid for the period you have activated for, whether it's 1 week, 2 months, 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, and essentially it allows you access to all of the JR trains, not buses, trains. Now, getting the JR pass means that you need to actually apply for it and get it before you enter Japan. I've had friends who thought they could purchase it within Japan and realized they couldn't. They are trying to change it, but for now, please get it way before in advance. When I say way before, get it a month before, because you need to activate it within, if I'm correct, 3 months. So get it within that period, and you'll be ready to go. And it'll help you out a lot. Now, why you should get it? Well, it depends on where you're going. Now, if you're going to base yourself in the Kansai area, I wouldn't recommend getting it because there is a Kansai pass which allows you access to the train networks, which gives you access to places such as Kyoto, Kobe, as well as Osaka. So you can definitely use that. And the main train network is more or less the subways, which you can't use the JR pass for. So therefore, it's probably a little more useful to get some other pass if you're going to base yourself. This means you need to plan ahead and research where you're going to and see if you're going to take the JR pass a lot. Now, if you're in Tokyo, you'll probably use the JR lines a lot, so it's probably a little more wise to take that because public transport in this country is expensive. For example, my place, which is 20 minutes out from Osaka Central to Central Osaka, is roughly about $3 Australian. Now, that's just one way. So if you're trying to be a tourist and going to all these places here, it adds up and you may be paying at least $30 Australian per day. You can do the calculations on that, but you can probably guess it is not cheap. So plan ahead and know where you're going and add the value up because you might find that the JR Pass is ultimately a lot more helpful for you, and it can make your trip in Japan a lot cheaper. Now, number 2. Speaking of trains, as much as this country is very nocturnal, izakayas run till 5 a.m. every night. Clubbing is eternal. Bars are eternal. Trains, unfortunately, don't run all night. Most trains finish between 11:30 p.m. to midnight. Very rarely will you ever get a train that runs after that. If you do, you're just extremely lucky to be living or staying in a really good location. But again, trains are run here all night. Plus, taxis in this country are seen as a luxury service and are therefore quite expensive. So, my recommendation is that if you are going to go out at night, you either plan ahead and know how you're going to get back with all the train changes as well. That, or you plan to stay out all night until 5 a.m. because that's when the first trains begin. Some trains begin at 4 a.m. But basically stay out that whole time. Now, if you do get caught out, there are some options you can use. In particular, there are love motels, which normally used for sex, but you can use them also for like 3 or 4 hours until the first train happens. You can use those places to rest at until you can get back on your feet and get back home. Of course, there are also like internet cafes which you can use, which do have cubicles that you can kind of use as sleeping facilities if you want, I guess. Different prices apply, but they're a lot more affordable than taking a taxi back to your apartment, Airbnb, or your hotel. So please plan ahead if you are considering going out for a drink at night. Otherwise, keep it local to your area if there are facilities in your area that allow accessibility to that. Now, number 3. Sometime in Japan runs from late April to about October period. And if you're coming from an Asian country, you probably know this already, but there is a typhoon season in this country, which means extremely heavy weather. And yes, plan ahead again, check the weather. But for people coming from countries which are not humid, whether it's Europe, Australia, Southern Australia, you may not be used to the weather here. Now, despite Japan being very modern, they are a very conservative country in terms of with their energy and that, so they don't tend to turn on the air condition too quickly, which means that even if you're inside a building, you may still feel like you're dying and sweating like there's no tomorrow. So therefore, sometimes this country is extremely hot and you will feel the sweat. On top of that too, many of the tourist sites in this country require a lot of walking. So to avoid that, either go in the early morning or go a bit later at night. Although I'll be honest with you, it does get hot. It's still hot then. One slight remedy is getting wet tissues. Wet tissues are basically tissue that are scented and are often found in convenience stores. And obviously, they're, as the name implies, they're wet, so they do give a bit of a cooling sensation. While not replacing a great cool shower, it will get the job done in the moment. So they're really cheap, really affordable. Pack up on them before you go out, and it will be a lifesaver when you're out in Nara, out trying to find deers and sweating like an absolute pig. Number 4. This is very specific to Japan, but basically, shoes off wherever you go. Now, in most Asian countries, if you walk into a house, you just take your shoes off. But in Japan, they take it one step further because in many temples, monuments, buildings, you just take your shoes off. Even in the restaurants, because ultimately, especially with the sit-in type restaurants, the traditional Japanese restaurants, you must take your shoes off. So don't bring shoes that are complicated to take off and put on. Bring shoes that you can easily take off and put on, because that will ultimately help you out and make your time here a little more like just easy. It's easy to get around. Bring shoes that are comfortable. Again, you'll be walking a lot. And if you're a dancer like me, know that you need to bring an extra pair of shoes because the shoes that you wear outside, well, they may be for dancing. Most dance studios will not allow that. So bring shoes that you can actually bring an extra pair of shoes so you can use them for your dance classes. Now, let's get to number 5. Number 5. Don't assume everyone knows English in this country because people don't really know English in this country. Despite English being part of the education system in this country, majority of the English education here is very written based and it's very outdated. Now, while they are changing the system here by 2018, obviously those changes will take a while to have effect. So therefore, the next thing you can do is learn a bit of Japanese to help you out. It will make your life so much easier. But on top of that too, it will allow you to have a lot more respect from Japanese people. Now, ultimately, learning a language is not easy. So if you do need to, my best bet for you is have a translator. I have a program called Yomiwa, which is an amazing and free app that you can buy from the Apple Store, because you can actually take a photo of and basically have the application read the characters and actually read it out for you, so you know how to say it. It even allows you to draw like the characters, so you can actually read out what you're saying, especially if you're going to a restaurant where a lot of the characters are in kanji, which is Chinese characters. You may not be able to read it, so it will help you out if you just do that, because that will go a long way to making your time here in this country a lot easier. And if you ultimately don't know what to do, you can definitely ask your receptionist at your hotel and ask him for some translations and have them write it down so that you can show people if it ever needs to come to that. So that is my tip for you in regards to Japanese and English. Now, I said there was going to be a sixth one, so let's get to the sixth one quickly. That would definitely be, again, it comes back to everything, planning ahead in knowing where to go. Now, I have my trusty Lonely Planet guidebook wherever I go, but you can choose whatever you want to do. But research where you want to go. There are so many sites within this country, even within a city, that it's just essential that you plan ahead, because you don't want to go back to your country and be like, oh, I missed out on doing that and in that country when I was there, because there are so many sites. Whether it's the million sites in Tokyo, whether it's Osaka, Kobe, Kyoto, Nara, Hiroshima, Miyajima, somewhere in Kyushu, somewhere in Hokkaido, there is a fuck ton of things to do in this country. So plan ahead and know what you want to do, because this is a short tip, but Japan has so much to offer, and it's so important that you know what you want to do so that you don't miss out on the most important things, even if it's shopping, because shopping in this country is beautiful. But there you go. There's 6 tips for you about traveling in Japan. I hope that helped, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think, because I'm happy, and I'm happy to help anyone that's coming here to Japan. Peace!